The world isn't fair, and it isn't impressed by your struggle. It doesn't reward effort, it rewards signals. The moment your face shows desperation, you get priced like desperation. The moment your voice asks for permission, people treat you like you're disposable. Here's the dangerous truth: if they can read your need, they can control your life. Most men don't lose respect because they're broke, they lose it because they start acting broke long before the money runs out, begging with their posture, their words, their anxious energy. Today you'll learn how kings move when they have nothing, and why the world starts bending anyway. First, you need to understand the rule that humiliates most men. The first law of power is simple, but brutal: the world doesn't obey what you are, it obeys what it believes you are. Two men can walk into the same room with the same money, the same background, the same problems, and one gets ignored while the other gets treated like he owns everything. The difference isn't reality. It's perception. Society is a mirror, but it doesn't reflect your potential. It reflects your certainty. The steadiness in your eyes, the pace of your movements, the way you speak without rushing to be understood, these are the signals people read before they ever hear your story. Most men wait to be respected after they become something, but respect doesn't wait for results. It reacts to behavior. And behavior tells a story long before results ever show up. People don't discover your value. They decide it. Fast, emotional, and based on cues. If you move like you're unsure, they treat you like you're unsure. If you over-explain, they hear weakness. If you tolerate small disrespect, you train people to lower your price. Calmness, boundaries, self-respect, these are not personality traits. They are authority signals. And the truth most men avoid is this: the world doesn't care about your intentions, your struggle, or your potential. It responds only to what you project. That's why so many good men get stepped on, not because they lack value, but because they constantly signal that their value is negotiable. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology existed. Power belongs to the man who controls appearances, because appearances control decisions. Not because truth has no value, but because most people never look deep enough to find it. They react to what's in front of them: certainty, composure, control, and they avoid what feels unstable. And this is exactly where most men collapse, the moment life strips away their proof. In a minute, I'll show you the behaviors that silently destroy authority, the ones that make you look cheap even when you're capable. When life takes your money, your status, your comfort, most men don't just lose resources, they start leaking need. And need has a smell. You can call it broke energy, but understand what it really is: a constant broadcast of insecurity. It shows up in the micro-behaviors you don't even notice because they've become your personality. You talk too fast like silence might expose you. You laugh nervously to soften your presence. You over-explain simple decisions because you're trying to pre-defend yourself from judgment. You apologize for taking up space, for having standards, for having an opinion. You say, "It's fine," when it's not, because conflict feels like danger. And every time you do it, you teach the room how to treat you. This isn't about money. I've seen men with cash who still beg with their eyes. I've seen men with looks, talent, and potential who still present themselves like they're asking to be tolerated. Broke is not a bank balance. Broke is a posture. Broke is a voice that tries to earn permission. Broke is the reflex to seek reassurance, to ask, "Is this okay?" without saying the words. People sense it the way predators sense blood in water, not because they're evil, but because humans are wired to follow strength and punish instability. If you look like you need them, they'll make you pay for access. If you look like you fear losing them, they'll test how much disrespect you'll swallow to keep them. That's where men get trapped, accepting small violations because they're terrified of being alone, then waking up confused about why nobody respects them. And here's the open secret: there's one behavior that screams low rank louder than being broke, and you might be doing it daily, because it feels polite, it feels reasonable, it feels like you're just being a good guy. But it's not goodness. It's submission dressed in manners. The weak man tries to be liked because he thinks likability is safety. The strategic man doesn't chase likability, he builds respect, because respect is what keeps your name clean when your wallet isn't. Machiavelli would say it clean: men don't follow the truth, they follow the image. Machiavelli's edge is the part most self-improvement men are too polite to admit. Power is partially theater, and theater is not lying, it's strategy. The world is not a courtroom where truth automatically wins. It's a battlefield of perception where the calm man is assumed competent, the unshaken man is assumed dangerous, and the desperate man is assumed cheap. When you appear strong, you're not pretending to be rich or important, you're refusing to broadcast weakness. You're refusing to give people a clear handle to grab you by. Because once they see what you fear, they will use it. Once they see what you need, they will tax you for it. Appearing strong is not arrogance, it's armor. Understand how fast decisions are made about you. In the first seconds, before your story, before your intentions, before your real personality, people already choose a category: respect, hire, ignore, mock, test. And they choose that category based on signals: your posture, your eye contact, how quickly you smile to reduce tension, how quickly you start explaining yourself like a suspect. This is why appearances rule. Not because reality is meaningless, but because reality takes time, and most people are lazy and emotional. They don't investigate depth, they react to presentation. So if your presentation says, "I'm unsure," they treat you as unsure. If your presentation says, "I can be pushed," they push. If your presentation says, "I'm solid," they approach differently, even if you have nothing in your pocket. This is what acting like a king really means: protecting your dignity and controlling your emotional tells. Not performing confidence with loud words, but moving as if you cannot be bought with approval. The warning is simple and brutal: if you wait to act powerful after you have results, you'll never get the opportunities that create results. Life does not hand crowns to men who look like they need permission to wear them. You don't get access first and then become composed, you become composed, and access appears. But none of this works if the crown is only outside. It has to become internal, and next, I'll show you the inner shift that makes your body language real, not performative. The crown that actually changes your life isn't something the world places on your head. It's something you install in your nervous system. Sovereignty means you stop asking the room who you are. You stop entering spaces like a defendant waiting for a verdict. You decide your rank internally, then you behave like it's already settled. That's the pivot most men never make, because it feels safer to outsource identity. They let women grade them with attention. They let friends grade them with jokes. They let bosses grade them with praise. They let strangers online grade them with numbers. And every time you accept that arrangement, you become a negotiable man, cheap enough to be bought with approval, weak enough to be controlled with rejection. A king is internally sourced. He can listen to feedback without begging for it. He can take criticism without collapsing into self-hate. He can walk through disrespect without needing to win the moment, emotionally. This is where Stoicism stops being philosophy and becomes dominance. You don't need life to be gentle for you to be stable. You don't need people to agree for you to move with certainty. You don't need validation to be real. And when your identity stops depending on external mood swings, you become dangerous in the cleanest way, because you can't be easily manipulated. Your emotions are not your master, they're your servants. Anger becomes a signal you interpret, not a fire that drives you. Anxiety becomes information, not a command. Loneliness becomes a season, not a sentence. The average man feels something and instantly obeys it. The sovereign man feels it, measures it, and chooses his action anyway. This is the inner crown, calm, deliberate, self-contained. You don't broadcast hunger. You don't perform goodness to be spared. You don't bargain your standards down just to keep someone close. If this is the line you're drawing today, cement it in public so your weaker self can't erase it later. Comment: I don't negotiate my worth. Now we translate that identity into something the world can't ignore, your physical presence. If you want the world to believe you have power before you have proof, you don't start with money. You start with motion. Because speed is submission. The man who rushes is announcing, without words, that he's chasing something he doesn't have: approval, safety, permission, attention. And the man who is always moving is rarely in control, he's usually trying to outrun discomfort. Stillness is different. Stillness is authority. Stillness tells the room, I'm not threatened by silence. I'm not here to perform. I'm here because I belong. That's why kings don't look busy. They look certain, and certainty is a drug people obey. So build presence like a weapon. Your shoulders stay open, not folded like you're hiding. Your chin stays neutral, not lifted in arrogance or dropped in apology. Your movements become clean and deliberate, no twitchy hands, no restless feet, no compulsive nodding to prove you're friendly. You slow your turn, you slow your reach, you slow your walk, because your body should never look like it's trying to escape the moment. Eye contact becomes steady, not aggressive, just unblinking enough to communicate that you're not intimidated by being seen. And when someone challenges you, your face doesn't rush to fix the tension with a smile. You let the tension sit. That alone will change how men speak to you and how women test you, because nervous movement communicates one message: I'm unsafe here. The moment people sense that, they start treating you like someone who can be pushed. This is the peasant versus the king. The peasant fidgets, overreacts, fills every gap, tries to look useful, tries to look harmless, tries to look liked. The king holds his frame. He doesn't flail for acceptance. He doesn't leak fear through his hands and eyes. He doesn't bargain with his posture. And once your body stops begging, the world starts recalculating your value, fast. But your mouth is where most men lose their throne, and there's one sentence pattern that makes you sound weak even if you're right. Next section fixes it. Your mouth is where kings get exposed, because words reveal need faster than your face ever could. Weak men speak to be accepted. Powerful men speak to be felt. That difference changes everything. The man who rushes to be understood is announcing he fears being misunderstood, and the fear behind his words is what people respond to. They don't even hear your logic, they hear your anxiety. So cut the filler. Cut the softening. Cut the nervous laughter that says, please don't judge me. Cut the compulsive justifications that turn a simple decision into a courtroom defense. The more you explain, the more you imply you need permission. And if you need permission, you can be controlled. Verbal power is scarcity. It's economy. It's restraint. Shorter sentences, fewer apologies, slower delivery, and a tone that doesn't chase agreement. You don't add extra words to sound nice when the extra words are really just fear in disguise. You stop saying, I'm sorry, but, when you're not sorry. You stop saying, I don't know if this makes sense, when it makes perfect sense. You stop asking questions you don't need answered just to keep the other person engaged. And you learn the quiet weapon most men can't handle: silence. Silence is only awkward when you're seeking approval. When you're not, silence becomes pressure. It forces the other person to fill the space, to reveal themselves, to negotiate against your calm. Start replacing explanations with decisions. Instead of, I can't because I have a lot going on and I've been stressed lately, it becomes, that doesn't work for me. Instead of, I'm not sure, maybe, we'll see, it becomes, I'll think about it. Instead of bending with, okay, whatever you want, it becomes, no, not angry. Not dramatic. Clean. Controlled. Final. And here's what will happen when you do this: people will push you harder the moment you stop being easy to control, because they were comfortable with the old version of you that talked too much and stood for too little. Once your presence and voice stop leaking need, you'll face the next test: boundaries. The moment you stop over-explaining and start speaking with finality, the world runs its oldest experiment on you: it tests your boundaries. Because people don't just listen to what you say, they study what you tolerate. A king doesn't chase. He evaluates. He doesn't negotiate his dignity to keep access to someone. And this is where most men fail, not because they're unintelligent, but because they're terrified of loss. They fear losing friends, losing a woman, losing a job, losing a seat at the table, so they become easy. Agreeable. Convenient. Always available. And the more convenient you become, the more replaceable you become. When a man is scared to walk away, everyone can feel it, and the entire relationship becomes a silent auction where your self-respect is the currency you keep spending. Boundaries are not anger. They're not speeches. They're not threats. They are standards enforced with calm. No rage, because rage shows you've been hooked. No pleading, because pleading admits you're below them. No dramatic exits, because drama is just need in costume. A boundary is simple: that doesn't work for me. Don't speak to me like that. I'm not doing that. And then you act like those words are real. Most men can say a boundary once, they can't live it twice. They fold the moment someone resists, and that one fold teaches the other person everything. Your rules are decoration, your self-respect is negotiable, your spine is rentable. Here's the psychological truth you need to tattoo into your mind: disrespect is often a test, not an accident. The late reply, the backhanded joke, the bro relax after they cross a line, the casual inconvenience they throw on you to see if you'll accept it, these are probes. If you tolerate small disrespect, you train people to increase it. If you correct it calmly, you change the math of how they treat you. Kings select who gets access to them, peasants accept whoever shows up. If this hits, subscribe. This channel is for men building authority from nothing. Now let's talk about the paradox: acting like a king when you're broke, without becoming a clown. Here's where weak men misunderstand the entire game and embarrass themselves. They think acting like a king means flexing, fake watches, loud brands, rented lifestyle, borrowed status. That isn't king energy. That's hunger wearing perfume. Kings don't flex, they stabilize. When you have nothing, the goal is not to look rich. The goal is to look unshaken. To look ordered. To look like a man whose life is under command even if the numbers aren't where they should be yet. Because the world doesn't fear a poor man, it fears a disciplined man who looks like he can't be bought, rushed, or knocked off his axis. So project abundance the correct way: clean grooming, clean nails, clean scent, clean haircut, clothes that fit, even if they're basic. Minimalism beats brand begging every time. One well-fitted black shirt carries more authority than a screaming logo on a man who looks chaotic. Your room matters. Your car matters. Your phone screen matters. If your environment looks like collapse, people assume your mind is collapsing too. Disorder signals instability. It tells everyone you can't manage details, which means you can't be trusted with responsibility, money, or leadership. Order signals command. A made bed, a clean desk, a clean inbox, a controlled calendar, these are silent declarations of power. Not because they're aesthetic, but because they prove you can control yourself when nobody is watching. And don't ignore your digital presence. If your social media looks desperate, thirsty, argumentative, or attention-starved, you're broadcasting low status to the entire world 24/7. Kings are not loud online and messy in private. They're consistent. They don't post to be saved, they build to be undeniable. Desperate men buy status. Sovereign men become status. But understand this: signals alone aren't enough. A real king quietly builds leverage, and the next part is where most confidence advice fails, because it ignores competence. Signals open doors, but competence keeps you in the room. This is where the fake kings collapse, because their frame is all posture and no substance. Appearance without capability is fragile. It turns you into a man who has to protect an image instead of building a life. And the world can feel that fragility. It's why some men act confident until they're challenged, then their voice changes, their eyes dart, their temper spikes, their ego starts begging for mercy. Real power is quieter than that. Real power is built in private, measured in output, and proven when pressure hits. Competence is the throne no one can take, because it's not a costume you wear, it's a weapon you own. So stack competence like a king stacking leverage. Pick one high-income skill and treat it like your bloodline, something you build daily, even when motivation disappears. Not 10 skills half-learned, not endless research, not planning. One skill with ruthless depth: sales, coding, video editing, copywriting, trading a craft, building systems, whatever fits you, but you go deep until the market has to respect you. Then you lock in the second pillar, physical training. Not for vanity, for presence, endurance, and the psychological certainty that comes from keeping promises to your body. Third pillar, communication. Not talking more, talking cleaner. Knowing how to state a decision, hold eye contact, negotiate, and let silence do the heavy lifting. Fourth pillar, emotional control, because the man who can't regulate himself can't be trusted with responsibility, money, or leadership. If your mood is your master, your life will always be rented. A king doesn't announce growth every week like he's seeking applause. He shows results quietly. He gets stronger, sharper, more capable, and people feel it without being told. The world bends most to men who produce value without drama, because value is rare and drama is common. And here's the rehook you need to take seriously: your environment is either crowning you, or draining you. Now that you're building real leverage, you must control the social chessboard. Your environment isn't just where you live, it's what the world thinks you deserve. And the fastest way to see if a man is serious about becoming elite is not his dreams, it's his proximity. Who does he tolerate? Who gets access to his time, his attention, his energy? Because the brutal social rule is this: the people around you become your public identity. If you stay surrounded by low-standard men, men who gossip, complain, chase validation, mock discipline, live for weekends, then even if you're improving, the world still files you under the same category. You can't build a rare identity while living inside common rooms. Kings understand that association is reputation, and reputation is leverage. That's why kings curate proximity. Fewer friends. Stronger allies. Less explaining. Not because they hate people, but because they respect bandwidth. Every room has a temperature, and if you keep walking into rooms that celebrate weakness, you will eventually catch that sickness. Some men call it loyalty when they keep toxic proximity. It's not loyalty, it's fear of solitude. The king chooses solitude over contamination. He doesn't announce the cut. He doesn't debate it. He simply becomes less available to what drains him and more committed to what sharpens him. And here's the other rule most men don't understand until it costs them years: always available equals low value. If you answer instantly, show up instantly, respond to every invite, every message, every demand, you train people to treat you like a utility, not a man with a mission. Selective availability isn't playing games, it's living like your time has a price. Machiavelli would tell you what modern men refuse to accept: people don't just watch you, they watch who watches you. They judge your worth by the quality of attention you receive and the quality of company you keep. So if you want perception to shift, proximity must shift first. And when you change like this, they will try to pull you back with emotion, baiting you into reaction, guilt, and impulsive explanations. Next, I'll show you how they set that trap, and how kings never take the bait. The moment you start rising, people start testing, not with logic, but with bait. Sarcasm disguised as just a joke. Casual disrespect delivered with a smile. A woman who flirts, then withdraws to see if you'll chase. A group that tries to humiliate you in public because they can feel your frame getting stronger. Online strangers poking at your insecurities because they're bored and you're available. These aren't random moments, they're probes. And the weak man fails the same way every time: he reacts. His face changes. His voice sharpens. He explains. He defends. He fires back. He tries to win the moment emotionally, and in doing that, he gives away the only thing that matters: control. Status doesn't disappear when you're wrong. It disappears when you look moved. The king doesn't get provoked into performance. He watches, pauses, and chooses. He understands that most traps are designed to make you step out of your center so they can drag you into theirs. So you build a simple internal protocol. First, breathe before you speak, even if it's one slow inhale. That breath is the gap where your power lives. Second, label the tactic silently: this is a test. This is bait. This is a power move. The moment you name it, it loses its spell. Third, respond with calm boundaries or don't respond at all. Don't speak to me like that. That's not happening. We're done here. No extra heat, no lecture, no proving. And if the room is toxic, you disengage without theatrics. No slamming doors, no dramatic speeches, just absence. Because a man who needs the last word is still asking for permission to feel respected. Memorize this line and live it: the man who controls his face controls the room. Your expression is your thermostat. If it spikes, they know they can move you. If it stays steady, they start adjusting themselves around you. Like the video: if you've ever been punished for reacting, this is your way out. Now we turn this into a daily system, because kings are built in routine, not moods. Emotional control is useless if you only have it when you feel like it. Kings aren't built in rare heroic moments, they're built in architecture, systems so strict that even your weaker self has no room to negotiate. This is where most men stay aware forever and never become dangerous, because they keep waiting for motivation to show up like a friend. Motivation is for civilians. Systems are for rulers. The peasant wakes up and asks himself, do I feel like it? The king wakes up and executes, because the decision was made yesterday and the routine makes it automatic. So you design a day that forces power out of you. Your morning is not a chaos lottery of notifications, dopamine, and excuses, it's a controlled entrance into the world. You wake, you hydrate, you move your body, you touch something difficult early: training, breath work, cold air, disciplined silence, anything that tells your nervous system, I lead here. Then you lock in deep work blocks, uninterrupted creation, skill building, money building output where your phone is a liability, not a companion. You don't try to focus, you remove the triggers that steal focus. You don't scroll in bed, you don't argue with strangers online, you don't keep 10 tabs open like a weak mind pretending it's busy. Digital minimalism isn't aesthetic, it's dominance over the modern drug. Your body becomes part of the architecture too. Clean diet baseline, not perfection, not identity cosplay, just consistent fuel that doesn't make you foggy and impulsive. Sleep discipline, because a sleep-deprived man is an emotional man, and emotional men are easy to manipulate. Your room stays clean because disorder is mental leakage. Your calendar stays tight because sloppy time creates sloppy standards. You set non-negotiables, a daily minimum for training, a daily minimum for skill, a daily minimum for silence and planning, small enough to be done on bad days, strict enough to compound into a new identity. And here's the open loop most men aren't ready for: your next betrayal won't be random. It'll be predictable. In the next section, I'll explain why your transformation will trigger backlash, and how to use it. Because once you change, the world panics. The moment you stop being convenient, the social immune system activates. People who used to smile at you will suddenly call you cold. The ones who benefited from your availability will label you arrogant. The ones who were comfortable with your low standards will say you've changed, like it's an insult. Understand what's really happening: you removed their access, and now they're trying to restore the old version of you with language. This isn't a personality critique, it's a control attempt. When you were easy, you were safe. When you become disciplined, you become unpredictable. And most people don't hate your growth, they hate the fact that your growth exposes their laziness without you saying a word. Expect sabotage disguised as concern. Expect mockery disguised as humor. Expect guilt disguised as loyalty. Bro, you never hang out anymore. Why are you acting like you're better than us? Relax, it's not that serious. This is how weak environments defend themselves. They don't argue against your results, they argue against your standards. And if you take the bait and start explaining, you've already lost. Because the man who defends his transformation is still asking for permission to evolve. Treat backlash as proof of growth. If nobody feels your change, you haven't changed enough. If nobody resists your boundaries, you're still living like a public utility. Here's the rule that will save you years: never defend your transformation to people who benefited from your weakness. They will never be convinced, because your old version was profitable to them. Your old insecurity kept them comfortable. Your old hunger made you predictable. So don't argue your value. Don't negotiate your direction. Don't write paragraphs to justify your discipline. Kings don't debate their worth, they demonstrate it through consistency. You keep training. You keep building. You keep your word to yourself. You let time do the talking, because time is the only judge that can't be bribed by emotion. Now we seal this, a king's code, simple, brutal, daily. The final section is a 30-day coronation protocol. Follow it and you won't recognize yourself. For the next 30 days, stop trying to change and start taking vows. Not motivational vows, not soft promises you break when you're tired, vows that turn you into a different species of man. This is your coronation, and it happens in silence. You will take the vow of stillness, you will slow down your movements, your reactions, your pace, until your body stops broadcasting fear. You will take the vow of silence, no more explaining your decisions like you're on trial, no more nervous talking to earn comfort, no more words that beg for approval. You will take the vow of standards. The moment disrespect shows up, you correct it calmly or you remove access. Not drama. Not rage. Just law. Then you take the vow of output, because kings are measured by what they produce. Every day you train your body and you sharpen a skill that can feed you, not when you feel inspired, but because you are building leverage that cannot be argued with. You take the vow of order. Your room stays clean, your car stays clean, your phone stays clean, your schedule stops looking like a weak man's excuse. Order is not aesthetics, it's evidence. You take the vow of withdrawal. You stop sitting in rooms that lower your standards, you stop entertaining people who only respect you when you're useful, you stop answering instantly like you're owned. Scarcity is not a tactic, it's the natural byproduct of a man who has a mission. And finally, you take the vow of emotional discipline. When they bait you, you pause. When they provoke you, you breathe. When they test you, you name it internally and you choose your response like a strategist. You become the man whose face doesn't betray him, whose voice doesn't shake, whose actions don't depend on mood. Do this for 30 days and you won't need to announce anything. People will feel the change in your presence, and the world will start treating you like a problem it can't push around. Subscribe for the next training. Comment, crowned, if you're starting the 30 days. Share this with the man who keeps getting played by his emotions. You don't become a king when you get something. You become a king when nothing can take you from yourself.